האם זה באמת סגולה בדוקה? הסגולה ללמוד בזה?
Erev Tov, good evening, Dover Vietcher. We're in the Zera Shimshon on Parshas Va'era, and we're going to do Os, Tes Zayin and Yud Zayin, Osos Tes Zayin and Yud Zayin. Before we do, we're going to take a look at two psukim from the Parsha. This is Perek Tes, psukim Chav Zayin and Chav Ches, again, Parshas Va'era. Right after the Makkah of Borad, of hail, the pasuk says, the psukim say as follows: Vayishlach Paro vayikro leMoshe liAaron, and Paro sent and called to Moshe and Aaron, Vayomer aleihem, and he said to them, Chotosi hapam, I have sinned this time. Hashem hatzadik va'ani va'ami harishoyim. Hashem is the righteous one, and I and my people are the wicked ones. Next pasuk Chav Ches. Hatiru el Hashem, v'rav, call out to Hashem, pray to Hashem, Paro tells Moshe, v'rav mihiyos kolos Elohim uvarod. And there has been much of these godly thunders and the hail. Va'ashalcha eschem, and I will send you out, veloso sifun la'amod, and you will no longer continue to stand here. So Paro says that he will let Bnei Yisrael go because he's had too much of the kolos Elokim uvarad, these thunderous godly sounds, these godly thunderous sounds, and the hail. Those are the two psukim. Now let's take a look in the Zera Shimshon. Pasuk. The pasuk says, "V'rav mihiyos kolos Elokim uvarad." There has been enough of these godly thunderous sounds and the hail. That's the psukim from the psukim we just read. Kosher. This is difficult, as Zera Shimshon says. Lama amar kolos Elokim. Why does the pasuk say the thunderous sounds, the divine thunderous sounds, or the godly thunderous sounds, the thunderous sounds of God? Hayulolomar, it should have said, kolos uvarad. It should simply have said, Paro should have said, there's been enough of the thunder and hail. Kemosha Omar, as the pasuk says, vayachtelu hakolos vehaborad. And the thunderous sounds and the hail finished. They ceased. And so the Zera Shimshon is asking, why would Paro refer to the thunderous sounds as godly thunderous sounds? Continuing next paragraph. Aval bo lahochiach, but it's coming to prove she'ikar da'agoso, that his main fear, Paro's main fear and concern, Hayasa mipnei shehem kolos Elokim, was specifically because these were thunderous sounds of Elokim, of Hashem. V'zehu hatam, and this is the reason, shebemakev zo, with this plague, Omar, he said, Chatosi hapam, Hashem hatzadik va'ani va'ami harishoyim. It was specifically with this plague, the plague of Borad, of hail, that Paro said, I have sinned this time. It is God who is righteous, but my nation and I are wicked. Masha ein kein bishum maka acheres, which is not the case with any other plague, meaning there is no other plague in which the impact on Paro caused him to say these words, that Hashem is the righteous one and he and his people are wicked. Shehine Paro, top of the next column. Shehine Paro haya ose atzmo Eloah. Paro had made himself into a god, a deity. Mipnei shenilus haya ola likroso, because the Nile River used to ascend towards him. When Paro would come close to the Nile River, the water would ascend towards him. Achar Birkas Yaakov, after the special blessing that Yaakov gave him. But Paro ignored the connection to the blessing from Yaakov, and Paro claimed that this rising of the Nile River in his honor, so to speak, in his presence, was a sign that he was a deity, that he was a god. Uchesheshama kolos uvorad, and when he heard the unprecedented sounds of the thunderous blasts and the hail, shehoyu mochichim sheyesh Eloka b'shamayim, which proved that there was a God in Shamayim, a real God. Vehem kolos Elokim, and these were the thunderous sounds emanating from Hashem, caused by Hashem. Hayakoshet lo me'od. This was extremely difficult for Paro, meaning that Paro suffered a powerful, unprecedented blow to his self-worth, self-esteem, to his ego, when thunderous sounds came out with the barad that could only be described as heavenly, as coming min hashamayim, as coming from a true God, from the real God. This was a massive blow to Paro, who had sincerely conceived of himself as a deity. And so that is why he said, use the phrase kolos Elokim. That is what was in his mind. These thunderous sounds have come from a real God, and they did not emanate from me. And I am not a God. I can no longer pretend to be a God. Next paragraph. Veheshiv lo Moshe, and Moshe responded to him, ha-kolos yechdolun, the thunder will cease, v'chule, etc. L'man teidor ki l'Hashem ha'aretz, in order that you should know that the world is Hashem's, meaning ve'eincha Eloah, and you, Paro, are not a God. The universe belongs to Hashem, the real God, and not to you, who is a pretend deity. Aval yodati, but I know, Moshe said, she'af bozeh, even now, even through this, toshuv miga'avoscha, you will return from your arrogance. Ve'o ta'aseh atzmacha Eloah, and you will continue to turn yourself into a deity and to act that way. Va'atav avodecha yodati, and you and your servants, I know. This is words from another pasuk. Ki terem tirun, it is not yet true that you fear mipnei Hashem Elokim, in the presence of Hashem Elokim. So Moshe understood exactly what was going on. Moshe understood that Paro had temporarily suffered a tremendous blow and had been forced to concede and admit the existence of the true God, the true Elokim, because of the kolos Elokim, but that he would return to his foolishness and return to his play acting as if he, Paro, was a deity, and the Egyptian people would continue to act as if they believed that way. V'chein hoya, and so it was. Sheka'asher ro'a Paro ki chodal v'chulei, when Paro saw that the thunder and the lightning had stopped, vayosef lachato, and he continued to sin. Chozar la'asos atzmo Eloha, he went back to acting as if he was a deity, v'achar kach, and after that, vayach libo, he also hardened his heart al Yisrael. What the Zera Shimshon is saying is that when we read the pasuk about Paro returning to his sinful ways, we must understand and read the pasuk carefully, because it's saying two things about Paro, not one thing about Paro. We should not read the pasuk to say Paro continued to sin by hardening his heart and not releasing Bnei Yisrael. Zera Shimshon teaches us that's not how to read the pasuk or how to understand the pasuk. The pasuk is saying, Paro returned lachto to sin, comma. He returned to his sin of acting as if he was a god. Vayach be libo. And in addition to that, he hardened his heart once again and refused to allow Bnei Yisrael to leave. Next paragraph, next column. The Efshar Nami, and it's also possible, Sheka'asher Omar Lo, when Hashem said to him, Ki bapam hazos, at this time, ani sholeach es kol magefosaya libecha, I'm going to send all of my plagues to your heart. Hakavona ha'yisa, the intention of Hashem's words was, Ki zo tihiyeh belibo mako atzuma. This blow of Borat, along with the thunderous sounds, will be a massive, profound blow to Paro's heart. Sheyivoda lakol, because it will make known to all she'eno Elohi, that he is not divine. So Zera Shimshon is suggesting here at the end of this piece that perhaps when Hashem uses the words that I am sending all of my blows to your heart before the plague of Borat, before the plague of hail, that too is an indication of Hashem's foreknowledge that Paro was going to experience this plague in a very unique way and in a way that was different from the other plagues, because he would view this plague as a plague that proved to everyone that he was not truly a god, and only Hashem, the true Hashem, who could produce such kolos Elokim, such godly thunderous blasts, was the real God. And this Hashem knew would be a massive blow to Paro's heart, and that would explain why Paro said, "Ani chatosi hapam," I have sinned. Hashem hatzadik v'ani v'ami harishayim, and I and my people who believe my nonsensical, my untrue claims to be a deity, my people have joined me. We're sinners, because only Hashem is true. And that reflects Paro's temporary embrace of the truth. Let's move now to Os Yud Zayin, the next piece in the Zera Shimshon, because here the Zera Shimshon is going to discuss an additional point from the Parsha about the plagues of Kinim, Shechin, and Choshech. Zera Shimshon says, Yesh loses ta'am. We can give a reason. Lama b'makas hakinim. How come it is with the plague of lice, v'hashchin, and the boils, v'hachoshech, and the darkness, with these three plagues, lo matzinu bohen hasra. We do not find a warning, el paro, to be given to Paro, kodem hamaka, before each of these plagues. We don't find a warning. Kemo b'chol shar hamakos, as exists with the other makos. So the Zera Shimshon starts by pointing out something that's quite remarkable, which is that there's a warning that comes that is given to Paro before the other plagues, but there's no warning before the three plagues of Kinim, Shechin, and Choshech, lice, boils, and darkness. And he says we need to give a reason, we need to give an explanation for that. Next paragraph. The Isa b'Yalkut Hareuveni, it states in the Yalkut Hareuveni, b'Shem Sefer Hapliya, in the name of the Sefer Hapliya, Shalosh Makos Hayu Mishamshos b'Yachad. Three plagues worked together, Im Kinim, Shechin, v'Choshech, and the three plagues that worked together were the lice and boils and darkness. B'chol maka sheshimsha achas, each one of these plagues, when it operated, shimshu shtayim ha'acheros ima, the other two of the three operated along with it. So when lice happened, there was also present shechin and choshech. So too when Shechin happened, there were Kinim and Choshech. And when Choshech happened, there were, in addition, Kinim and Shechin. All three plagues operated together. Hare Kinim Shechin Choshech Kalula Kol Achas Mishaloshtan. All three of these plagues, their letters are included with each other. Kazeh, as follows, and we look at the diagram, and we can see that the names of the plagues. This is assuming that we're taking out the letter Yud when it would normally be there. For example, the Yud in Kinim and the Yud in Shechin. If we take it out and we write each of these three plagues as a three-lettered word, then we see that they stack up together, and each one has the letters from the other one. So, for example, when we look at the plague of Choshech, let's start there at the bottom of the diagram. We can see that the plague of Choshech has the first letter of the other plagues. The Chet is Choshech, the Shin is Shechin, and the Chaf is the first letter of Kinim. When we look at the next word above that in the diagram, when we look at the Shechin, we can see that it has the middle letter of each of the three plagues. The Shin from Choshech, the Chet from Shechin, and the Nun from Kinim. And then when we look at the word Kinim, we see that it is composed of the last three letters of the three plagues, the Kaf, which is the last letter of Choshech, the Nun, which is the last letter of Shechin, and the Mem, which is the last letter of Kinim. So all three words are inextricably bound together, and each of them contains the letters of the other. Each of these three plagues contains the letters of the other two plagues when we organize them as they are in this diagram. Ad kan Lashono, until here, is a quote from the Yalkut Reuveni, which quoted the sefer Hapliya to teach us this idea, to show us and demonstrate to us the interdependency and the connectedness of these three plagues. Ulefizeh, according to this idea, Zera Shimshon says, Lo hayoyocho Moshe lehasros, Moshe was not able to give a warning al achas mehen levada, on any one of these three plagues by itself. Moshe couldn't give a warning. Shehare hayushtayim ha'acheros, because the other two plagues, Mishamshos Ima, functioned and operated along with the other plague. So if Moshe wanted to give a warning, let's say for Kinim, he couldn't give a warning just for Kinim because Shechin and Choshech were also going to happen. And he couldn't give a warning just for Shechin when it was about to happen because Kinim and Choshech were also going to happen. And he couldn't give a warning just for Choshech before it happened because Kinim and Shechin were going to happen along with it. V'nimtze chas v'sholem Moshe badai. And if Moshe did give a warning for any of the three individual makos, it would have appeared that Moshe was a liar. Moshe was extremely careful, as we know, as we see from other places and other sources. Moshe was extremely careful not to say anything that the Mitzrim would have lashed onto and said, Moshe doesn't know exactly what's happening, or Moshe doesn't have a correct line of communication to Hashem, or Moshe is a liar. Moshe made sure to carefully choose his words to not end up with that kind of situation. So here is an example of that. Moshe couldn't have said Kinim is about to happen and not have mentioned Shechin and Choshech because they were also about to happen. So he couldn't give a warning on any one of these three makos. Ulehasros al kulon, and to give a warning on all three of them, Efshar, that would have been impossible. In other words, before Kinim, hypothetically, Moshe could have said, the plagues of Kinim, Shechin, and Choshech are all coming up, and they're all about to happen. that Zera Shimshon said would not also have not been possible for Moshe. She'adayin lo higia hazman ha'ikari, because before each plague that was about to happen of these three, it was not the main time, the primary time, shel hamaka ha'acheres, of the other plagues. So before Kinim to have mentioned Shechin and Choshech would have been accurate from one perspective, because Shechin and Choshech occurred during Kinim, but that was not their main manifestation. Shechin as a main plague was coming later, and Choshech as a main plague was coming later. So it would not have been appropriate or accurate for Moshe to have given a warning about all three plagues in the beginning before Kinim started, to say Kinim and Shechin and Choshech are the plagues that are going to come upon Paro and the Mitzrim and the Egyptians. That would not have been accurate. And as we mentioned a moment ago, as the Zera Shimshon is teaching us here, Moshe was meticulous about the accuracy of his words, because he knew that his words were reflecting and were the accuracy of Hashem's actions and predictions. And so therefore, Moshe could not take the chance to say anything that was not clearly and completely accurate and in line with what was actually going to happen. So the Zera Shimshon here in this last little piece in Parshas Va'era has taught us this concept of the interconnectedness of the three plagues of Kinim, Shechin, and Choshech, and why, and by doing so, we understand why Moshe did not and could not, in fact, have given a warning, a hasra, before each of these, or for all of them collectively. Yasher Koch for joining in the learning in the Zera Shimshon this week, and we look forward to learning in the Zera Shimshon again, God willing, together next week.